Welcome back to another video. Hope you're all keeping safe and well. So the final whistle has just gone. Leeds United 3, Tottenham Hotspur 1. Another very, very disappointing afternoon as Tottenham Hotspur fans. There have been so many disappointments this season, and certainly today is up there with them. Leeds United 3, Spurs 1. Goals from Dallas, Bamford and Rodrigo for Leeds, and Heung-min Son for Tottenham. Jamie, I've got three very special guests again, Jamie, Paul and Bob Spur. Thanks for coming on, particularly after today's result. Jamie, let's start with you. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, really, really disappointed. I mean, that was a really shocking performance, and it was kind of the attitude that was something that really disappointed me today. I mean, you look at a lot of the goals we conceded, players just looked totally static. They looked totally disinterested, and that for me was the most worrying thing today, just kind of the lack of interest in the game. For us, this was a big opportunity to go and win the last 4 games and maybe stand ourselves in with a good stead of maybe getting Champions League football. But they just didn't look like anything was on the line, and there was too many players today that just did not look interested at all. And that was, for me, it was so disappointing. Going forward, we were very poor as well. That was very disappointing. And Leeds, they're down in 9th, but they absolutely played us off the park today, and they thoroughly deserved the win. So very, very disappointing.
Do you know what really angers me, Jamie? And I feel, normally I feel upset when Spurs have lost. I feel very angry today. Very, very angry in the fact that, you said they don't even look interested.
Yeah.
We're going for a Champions League spot, the top 4. It was possible. Yeah. You turn up today and play like that again. There have been so many up and downs in this season, but to play like that today, I just cannot believe. We've now played a game more than 2 teams in front of us, Chelsea and West Ham. We've now played 2 games more than the 2 teams behind us, Everton and Liverpool. Jamie, why on earth are these players not turning up in these highly important matches?
It's very, very difficult to know. I mean, I wonder whether because earlier in the season it's all gone wrong and maybe they don't actually believe that they can get those spots. But I mean, for me, I think as fans, we all they should be fighting for the badge and kind of the supporters. And today they just did not turn up. I was just so disappointed by the defending today, and maybe there is a lack of quality in the defence, and simply Leeds were just so attacking. They had some quality about them, and were just able to easily play through us. That is such a massive issue, and we've been left so short in defence now. Where we've had a number of defenders that have just been with us for too long, and they're just lacking in quality. And I mean, that is such a big area that we need to go and address in the summer, because today there was some shocking performances from some of those defenders.
Paul, let's come to you. How are you feeling after that performance today?
So frustrated, Chris. Dejected. Like you said, you want to see your players give them passion and fighting. Like we've said many times in this show, we're chasing for the top 4. We've seen all today about the Ajax game when we got to the Champions League. Well, now our Champions Leagues have just been crushed. And what a transition from when we were all here 2 years ago to now. It's just devastating. It's just common basic sense. The second goal, you're pointing to see your player, you're not even marking him, and then you turn your back and then they score a goal. It's just simple, basic things that we're not doing right at the moment. And you just think, surely that can't be down to every manager that we've had. The players have got to take a look at themselves and realise that maybe they're not up to it anymore. And Jamie said, a new change is needed in the summer, but I'm devastated, Chris. Like you, this morning optimism, thought we could get a result. All right, might be a 2-1, but to see that performance, just disgraceful. It really is. I'm gutted. I'm normally I'm upbeat, happy, always see the positive in everything, but not at the moment. And Enoch, 60 quid for a ticket for the last home game of the season is an absolute disgrace. They should be embarrassed that they've even said that we've got to pay £60 to watch that. But
I know we're here to talk about the Leeds United game today, but as you brought up that ticket price information about the Aston Villa game, I thought it was absolutely fantastic at Burnley Football Club to actually be giving all of their fans the ticket free of charge. Well done. Fair play to Burnley, absolutely brilliant from them. Bob, let's come to you. How are you feeling about today's game?
Another game we've been outfought, Chris, and it's all very well being outfought against the likes of Man City and Liverpool and even Chelsea, to be fair. But we've been outfought this season against the likes of Brighton, Zagreb today, and as well as Leeds played. You'd like to think we've got the better players. We've got the players who would fit into a top 6 side more than more than league, but we're outfought by these so-called lesser teams, but there's no surprise, mate. You don't play your strongest team, you are going to lose. You're going to be, you know, and to think I had arguments with people, not arguments, but you know, a difference of opinion. The fact we were, a lot of people were celebrating a 4-0 win against Sheffield United. You know, I was a bit wary that when we do come up against so-called better teams, and Leeds are certainly better than Sheffield United, we'd struggle. But you don't play your best team, you're going to be, you're always going to be, you know, falling short.
Bob, I completely agree with you. When we beat Sheffield United 4-0, you know, I'm normally one of those ones that do get carried away and think, oh, we're back to winning ways, we're back to top, blah, blah, blah. I didn't get carried away. I thought it was Sheffield United. We've won 4-0. You know, we've got 4 remaining games coming up. You know, they're very, very important games. Ryan Mason's been saying all week, you know, what a huge game this is for Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. And, you know, if it's so huge, why are the players not turning up? And for me, I know this is going to probably upset a lot of people. You know, Gareth Bale scored a hat-trick against Sheffield United. Absolutely fantastic finishes, 3 great finishes. You know, went home with a match ball. But when it is games where we really need him, Dynamo Zagreb away, Arsenal away, today, you know, the big important games, where are these players?
100%. 100%. Exactly. I asked that question as well. I had to ask, I think it's about 20 minutes in, is Bale actually playing today? He hadn't had a kick. And yeah, you know, his stats are absolutely fantastic. But you can't, people go, oh yeah, but you still have to score against it. You can't hide from the fact they are against lesser opposition. He always turns up and performs against the lesser opposition. And when we need him in must-win games, we've not won a must-win game this season, Chris. We haven't. Think about it. We've not won a single must-win game this season.
Do you know what, Bob? I don't even think it's this season. You know, I can think back to many games. And the frustrating thing for all of us sitting here talking about this is the fact that whenever we've all said as Spurs fans, well, if we do this, you know, we can go, you know, into 5th, and then we'll only be 2 points away from top 4. And if we do this, we can do this. Every time we seem to have this pressure, it's a problem for us. Jamie, what is it about pressure and Tottenham Hotspur? They don't go together, do they?
Yeah, I think one thing that's really missing at Spurs is just kind of a leader. I think there's no one kind of in that back line that's going to organise. You look at that goal, everyone's kind of ducking responsibility. Aurier allowing the cross in, Dial kind of letting the cross go across his body, Reguilon making a mistake at the back post. And there's just no leaders in this team. There's no one who's trying to get the team up and organise the defence, and then people going in the attack and trying to get our top players, you know, involved. There's no leaders in that team at all. Even Harry Kane at times, yes, obviously an amazing player, but there are just no leaders in that team at all. And that's, for me, is probably why it seems like there's no motivation. And that's why, you know, today when we've got a massive chance of maybe Champions League football, they completely let us down in these big moments because there's no one there that's trying to get the team up for it. And I think that's something that really strikes me. No leaders on that pitch, no one that's going to make us dominant in defence. And that's what the top teams are made on, not having a dominant defence. And there's no one in that back line that wants to organise or that's willing to lead. So I think that's a really worrying issue for us. No leaders in that team.
I'd say there's no leaders in the whole club, Jamie. You know, say what you want about the Glazers. You know, they spend money and the whole club sees an intent there. You know, you bring the likes of Pogba in and Bruno Fernandes. There's an intent there. There's a direction there. Liverpool, everyone could see the direction they wanted to go when they go out and they buy the best defender and the best goalkeeper. Man City, we all know. You know, they make it quite obvious what direction they're going to go. There's no direction right from the top. And I know we're probably going off topic a bit here, Chris, but you know, for me, it needs to be that. There needs to be a leader right from. We don't have a leader right at the top, and the leader we do have is currently being subjected to so much hate from fans. It is going to cloud the whole club. So for me, there isn't a leader. Yeah, obviously there's no leader on the pitch, mate. But for me, there's not a leader. Any formal leader, not manager, not in the board, nowhere.
I mean, we don't know what's going to happen next season. We're absolutely in the dark over what the managerial situation. You know, are the club going to go and invest money on defenders? I mean, look, we say we need investment in the defence, but can we actually see that? Are we actually going to go and get the defenders we need, or you know, I hate to say this. Obviously, we signed Joe Rodon last summer. It was an alternative to Milan Skriniar or other top players. But it was another alternative. Are we going to have another summer of that? Because we can't afford that. We need top players. I mean, look, don't get me wrong. I like Joe Rodon. I think he's a good young player, but he's not that top central defender that we needed. And there's so much uncertainty at the club. And I think you're absolutely right. That that there's no leadership even from the top, and that's translates onto the pitch, unfortunately.
Yeah. What's so frustrating is we were so close 2 years ago. All to do was back us, back the players, back the manager. Poch said it. You've said it plenty of time. We've all said it. Yeah. Back the manager. We were that close to being a top team, and we're miles away from it now, unfortunately.
Exactly.
And like you said, Jamie, leadership. You got Hugo Lloris. He's our club captain. If he can't, organise and be a leader, what hope have we got? And he's behind the back four. It's just incredible.
Absolutely.
Jamie, let's come back to you. Now, the starting 11 was exactly the same against Sheffield United, who, of course, we beat 4-0. Hugo Lloris, Sergio Aurier, Toby Alderweireld, Eric Dyer, Sergio Reguilon, Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, Dele Alli, Giovanni Lo Celso, Gareth Bale, Heung-min Son, and Harry Kane. When that lineup come out and it was the same as the previous game, what were your thoughts?
Well, I was fairly pleased because I think one thing that we've seen a lot this season is a lot of rotation. I think it was nice to see that we'd gone for a settled back four. But one thing I've got to say is I've absolutely seen enough of Eric Dyer now. But, I kind of thought maybe earlier on in the season, when we, particularly when we played Manchester City and we won 2-0, Eric Dyer and Alderweireld were the defensive partnership and they had a good game. But, ever since, it's just not been the same whatsoever. And Eric Dyer, I mean, he had an absolute shocker today, unfortunately. He's not the only one in that team. Of course, there were plenty of other players, but I said I was pleased to see consistency, but a number of those players just completely let us down. And again, no leadership in that team, and that was really, really disappointing. So I was pleased to see consistency, but they just didn't turn up today, unfortunately, those players that were on the pitch.
Paul, let's come to you. Jamie says there that some players just didn't turn up. Are some of these players good enough? Because, when I look at the likes of Eric Dyer, who Jamie mentioned, and Sergio Aurier, they seem to be huge weak links in this team.
Yeah, they were targeted for sure. You look at Leeds stats, they knew that the right-hand side of the defence was the weakness. And we've all said before, basic errors like not marking your man and picking your man up will lead to goals. And that's what we saw in the second one with Dyer. He pointed to Reguilon, turned his back, didn't even see what was behind him. And before you know it, we're banging the goal. You just think, you see that on the park level, Chris. This is Premier League. They train every day. They should know the basics, and then you build from that. But, us fans can talk a good game from the stands, but, it's so frustrating when you can see it unfolding when you're watching it live on the television,
Bob, let's come to you. In the 7th minute, Bamford left foot shot, great save by Hugo Lloris. A couple of minutes later, another Leeds chance shot over the bar from a corner. And in the 13th minute, the first Leeds goal come, putting them 1-0 up. Cross came in, Reguilon hit it. Lloris, great save. Dallas there to fire in. But how on earth did Eric Dyer let that ball pass him?
It's commonly known now is he had a Dyer. It is. He has one every 2-3 games. He has one every game. He's not had any in the last. Well, he didn't have one against Sheffield United because they barely attacked. I'm sorry, Chris. The fact that you start, it's not because Ryan Mason's inexperience or the fact he's 29 or has only been a week or 2 weeks into a job. That's not the reason why you can't see not to play a midfielder who's not played well for us for 2 seasons. And you don't play our best number 10 who's been our best number 10 this season. He was injured last, so-called, he had a bit of an injury, but apparently they trained all week, and Dembele and Lucas. You can't put that misjudgment down to his inexperience. He's been around the club. He's seen Tottenham games this season. He knows Ali's not performed for God knows how long. Lo Celso, to me, still doesn't look fit. No. Why not play Dembele and Lucas and then put Lamela on at the end as well? When, oh my God, he's lives off a Rabona every 5 years. I can't justify anything today. So many questions, mate. So many questions, and I just don't know the answers to it. But Eric Dyer, yeah, unfortunately doesn't surprise. Like I say, he just had a dire moment today. Well, few dire moments.
Jamie, let's come to you. What got me, and you mentioned this before we went live. Eric Lamela, the Rabona at the end. You're 3-1 down, and he's trying to Rabona to pass to a teammate out wide. What on earth is he doing?
Yeah, I mean, that bizarre decisions, and again, it's kind of so many decision making during that match where, just sometimes maybe keep it simple. Don't try that, when we're 3-1 down or whatever we were losing at that point. Don't make a decision like that. We need to keep it simple, and that's just, that just sums it up. It's a guy that clearly doesn't care. You don't do a Rabona in that position on the pitch when you're desperately trying to get a goal. That's not a player that actually is desperate, that's giving everything to get back into that game. That's a player who's almost given up, and he's not. And this is a guy who's meant to have come on and had an impact and really kind of G the team on. He just did not do that at all, and that was complete. That was exactly what Spurs did not need in that moment. And again, Lamela letting us down when he's come on, and that was maybe the wrong decision to bring Eric Lamela on. I don't think he's a guy who comes off the bench and has that impact. Maybe once or twice he's done it during his 7 years at the club, but he's not a guy that ever comes on and really has much of an impact. And that just summed it up today. Just poor decision-making from Spurs, a lack of real effort and care. And as I said, just summed up that performance today. It was so poor, so poor.
Jamie, during the game, they kept zooming in on Ryan Mason. And of course, when Spurs were 3-1 down, they zoomed in on Ryan Mason again. What do you think was going through his head?
Yeah, I mean, well, look, I mean, in the couple of games, I think we've maybe played. It's been pleasing to kind of see that we've had that attack in a 10. Obviously, under Mourinho, we set up in a different way. Under Ryan Mason, we've tried to go for a different approach. But yeah, they just don't look like they're listening to his instructions. And again, the lack of effort. I think he must be so disappointed. I mean, a guy who is one of our own, who's come through our academy, he knows what it means to play for Spurs, knows what it's about. And then he goes and sees players putting in performances like that. I mean, the Celso at times just walking. I mean, there was a point, I just remember, my dad that I was watching it with, he was just he looked like he was playing centre back whilst we're on the break. So there's just so many moments during that game where it's just players letting us down that aren't putting in the effort, and that is just the most frustrating thing. I can allow for us to maybe be outclassed by a team, but to be beaten by a lack of effort, it's just totally unacceptable, especially when we're in the position that we're in. We got, as we keep saying, we had that fantastic chance of European football. They did not look like they cared today, and that was so disappointing because I feel as though I've always kind of stuck up for this squad. The majority of this squad, I feel as though there is quality in it, but that there is a real worrying kind of mentality issue in this squad at the moment. They just enough of them don't care for this team, and that for me is the biggest concern because there is quality, but the lack of effort is shocking.
We all do, Jamie. We all get this confidence out of nowhere, and we all get this confidence and think that Spurs going to do it. And it's always the hope that kills you every single time, isn't it? And, you want to back the team, you want to back whoever's managing the club, but there just seems to be so many issues right now. Paul, let's come to you. Jamie talked about players walking there. Now, that has really infuriated me in a number of games this season where I've seen players walking and not even 100%. Where's the intensity, from some of these players, in very, very important games like this?
Exactly, Chris, and it just shows to them it's just a job. It's not like us fans have got passion. I've said on many a chat that we'd die for the club. We'd cover every bit of blade of grass, not glass, even glass. I'd walk on for it, but we would run and kill ourselves for the club, and they just get paid and they don't care. It's just a career for them. It's not our passion like we have, and that's the one thing. This shirt, that badge says it all. We've seen players in the past that have given a damn, did care for it. A couple of years ago, they all cared. I feel, like I said before, the whole club as a whole has been disconnected. That's gone right from the top down to the fans, There's not a core, there's not a unity anywhere. Purely, it's all division throughout the board, all the way down to the players.
Yeah.
It's extremely sad, though, Paul, isn't it? 2 years ago today, going into that Champions League final against Ajax, we're all on an absolute high. Probably one of the best days of all of our lives of supporting Spurs, getting into that Champions League final. I know it didn't quite work out in the end, but when you look at that 2 years ago, the decline now to sit in here, talking about another defeat and talking about the possibility now that Spurs, we might not even get European football next season because, as I keep saying, Liverpool and Everton are behind us. They've got 2 games in hand. If they win those games, we could be down to 8th. It would mean that we wouldn't even get in the Europa Conference League. It is that bad.
It is. I know, Chris. And it's such a horrible situation to feel, that 2 years ago we had the highs of everything, all the celebrations that Poch and the players had. You look out there and there's none of that now. No togetherness, no fighting for each other. Players that were giving a damn then aren't now as such. And you just think, how have we gone so wrong in such a short space of time from where we all were on a high, and there was togetherness and there was harmony and you could see a structure. I can't see anything at the moment, and that's the thing that hurts me more. I can accept losing to teams week in, week out if the performance and the heart, desire, passion's there from our players, because you're just beaten by a better team. But when there is no passion, there is no heart, there's no determination, that's when it really gets to me, and I get really angry and, I'm a bit annoyed because I want us to be there. Like I said before, I want us to be winning things. I want us to have the days again where we're all celebrating and we're all together, and that's where it's just so frustrating and hurts. The summer's massive for Spurs in more ways than one. The structure of the club, how it's run, the transfers, will players actually leave and get bought by other clubs on this performance? Who knows? So...
Bobby, let's come to you. I know you weren't Jose Mourinho's #1 fan, and you wanted Jose Mourinho to leave the club. But today's performance, was it any different to when Jose was there?
No. I'll be honest with you, and I suppose in that aspect you can look at Mason and look at it in experience. But of course, players haven't been good enough. But what worries me more now, at least under Mourinho, the likes of Kane came across as caring, and Sonny, I know he's had a couple of good games, but everyone just seems off it, and everyone just seems their minds are elsewhere, and it's, if anything, it's probably worse. Well, certainly by today's. I know we had a nice 4-0 win against a championship team, because essentially that's what they are. I've never gone away from the fact that we have a poor bunch of players. My biggest qualm with Jose was the fact that he never had an identity with us, he never built up an identity with us, and he was under the wrong board. He was working under the wrong board, because they were never going to invest the way Roma are certainly going to. So, but the fact we had no identity under Jose, and right now we don't seem to have the players to build an identity around. It's bad times, Chris. It's bad times. But again, we need to start from the top, mate. We can't take our eye off the ball. It's the board we need to sort out. Be it Enoch or not Enoch, but we need to sort the whole club out and start from the top, and then the rest will fall into place.
I think one thing that it really goes to show over the last couple of months is how important Mauricio Pochettino was for us. I mean, you see all the problems that went underneath him, that went on above him even. And he kind of was able to unite us, and you look at maybe the managerial candidates for the next job. You just don't see really a manager that's going to be able to do that, and that for me is really, really worrying, because I don't think that leadership's going to come from the top. We've seen it in the past from the club when we've had different managers. It just hasn't worked. Didn't happen under one of the most successful managers of his generation in Jose Mourinho. So it's very, very difficult where it's going to come from, and they don't really look like they know where the next manager is going to be. So very, very concerning, unfortunately.
And that's why I don't want a manager in now, Jamie. I don't want another manager in till we get the board sorted, because we were just going round in circles again. We were going round the same thing again, and whoever we bring in, until we know an identity. If the identity is working with the youth and no budget, then bring a Potter in. If the identity is going to be we're going to be splashing the cash, we'll bring in high quality players in, then bring a Jose in or a Conte or someone like that. But there's no point of bringing any sort of manager in till we'll get that board and their vision and their identity sorted. And until then, Mason.
They'll always have a ceiling, though, won't they? I think under this championship, there's always a ceiling. I think Mauricio Pochettino, he hit that ceiling at Spurs, and that's why it kind of started a plateau, and then we started to go downhill because unfortunately he hit the ceiling that Spurs allowed him to have. Unfortunately, so I'm concerned about the next managerial situation, because it's a massive appointment. We need someone who's going to unite the fans and kind of bring that belief back to the club, because I don't think it's going to come from the actual board. That's something that's they're not going to bring to the club.
I think you're absolutely right, Jamie. And when you look back and when you saw what Pochettino did at the club, getting into Champions League year in, year out, and of course not spending money in all that time as well. When you look back at it, it just looks like he's done a remarkable job. I know everyone thinks that he's done a good job, but I think he's done an absolutely remarkable job. But Jamie, in your opinion, what is next for Spurs? Because I know we're going a little bit off topic here, but when you go from Mauricio Pochettino and then you go to Jose Mourinho, what do Spurs do next? What type of manager do we get in next?
We need a guy who's similar to Mauricio Pochettino, because he just suited Spurs down to the ground, or this board down to the ground. He was a guy who was able to get the best out of what he was given. The way he was able to bring through young players and develop them into fantastic players. Of course, we saw Dele Alli brought him for £5 million. And then he transforms him into one of the best top young midfielders in the world, or certainly on the continent. And then obviously other players transform Harry Kane into one of the top strikers in the world. So we need a guy who's going to be able to come in, as I said, unite the fan base. That's something that's totally been divided by the board, Jose Mourinho. So we need a guy who's going to get us to believe again in the team. Under Mauricio Pochettino, during those top couple of years that we had with him, everyone kind of believed where we were going. There was an identity of where we were going, and that's something we've completely lost. We don't know where that direction is, and then you look at Heung-min Son and Harry Kane, and then we kind of question, maybe they don't look like they care, but they don't know what's the direction of the club, what's next for them at Spurs. So what are they looking forward to caring about? So that for me is the most worrying thing. We've got to get someone in who's able to bring back direction, bring back a style of play, bring back belief to the club. As I said, I don't think that belief's ever going to come from the board. I don't think we're ever going to see the board go out and really start to show real ambition. That's not what they're about. I mean, look, it's their club. They can run the club the way they want. Unfortunately, the fans, they're not going to run it the way that we want them to run it. So unfortunately, it's going to come down to the manager. Again, the next manager that comes in, he'll have a ceiling that he has, where he can only get to a certain point under this ownership. So concerning, but look, a massive appointment next, and it's got to be someone that can really start to make us believe that we've got an identity of play again.
It's very sad, isn't it, Paul? On the pitch, off the pitch, it just feels very, very sad.
I feel like I'm in a divorce, Chris. It's that bad. I feel so dejected. It's just awful. I think to myself where, the players that have gone out the door, you see them win things, and you just think, God, I want that for our players. I want us fans to be singing "We Are the Champions" and them and Queen blaring through the tannoys. I just think our biggest mistake was, even with Poch, they let quality go, but didn't replace it with quality. And it's going to be like that until they start doing that. If they let people go, that is fine. Let them go. I hope they go and win things. But what you let through the door, you're bringing back into cover, so it's not a massive wrench to your team. Walker, never replaced him really with quality. We've let Vertonghen go. We haven't replaced him with the same quality as such. Like you said with Rodon, great. I get it for the future. Danny Rose was completely off-sided. He might have added a bit more to it. Don't get me wrong. Attitude isn't particularly great, but love the club. Felt bad that he got treated the way he did. Ericsson, haven't replaced his quality for his picking a pass from an eye of a needle and vision. And it's worrying that now you've got Kane that's looking so sad and in himself. And it's just a simple thing like you normally square it to someone to tap it in. They're trying to shoot now. They're trying to be that person. There's no harmony within the team, how they play with each other now, like it was before, and all sorts. I can see it today. I saw they're all individuals. There's not a team out there at the moment, and that's so worrying.
Bob, when you said earlier about you wouldn't bring a new manager in, what would you like to see happen? Would you keep Ryan Mason there as interim boss still?
Well, I think that's the whole reason for the process. I mean, there's talk about process on the 15th and 16th. I know the 15th one is going to be a bit of a turnout, but I'm going to both now. I'm going to the 15th, 16th, the one on the 17th or 18th, 19th. I'm going to all of them. They need to start hearing, and as unlikely as in, I totally get Jamie's point. Ende, they're the owners. They can do what they want as they want, but they need to hear our voices, and no amount of protest can be too many. And all we can hope, Chris, that they do hear us. We're not. I'm certainly a realist. I'm not expecting ENIC out. I'm expecting ENIC to change just change, just listen to us, have a bit of dialogue, show us what your vision is, and then we know what to expect. We've been playing a guessing game for 20 years. We're trying to work out what Enix's vision is and what their their ambition is with Tottenham. We're still guessing that, and until we know, we don't know what kind of manager is to come in and what kind of budget he or she'll have. We have to be PC, but you just don't know, and we don't. I don't want to live in the dark anymore. I want to know. I want Enix to come out and say, right, this is what the objective is. This is who we're going to get in, and this is the plan. There's no need to be secretive about it, and then we can accept that. But I'll never get over the fact that they tried to sell our soul. They tried to sell our history and tradition. As much as it is, it's gone now. It's to keep that inside our hearts. Just going to be, it's just going to go toxic. But they do need to change their ways, and the only thing we can do is protest and protest and protest and protest because you want to, not because you feel like you have to.
Yeah, well said, Bob.
Jamie, let's come back to you. Let's go back to the game. Now, in the 25th minute, we got a equaliser through Heung-min Son. A wonderful assist by Dele Alli. And all season, a number of Spurs fans have wanted Dele Alli to come back into the team, wanting his form to come back to the Dele of old. It was a great assist and it was a great goal, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was pleased with Dele Alli today. I thought he was a bit unlucky to go off. I think Giovanni Lo Celso was maybe a player that I'd have brought off ahead of him. But yeah, he's had some better performances. I'm not going to say again. I'm a guy that always gets carried away, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we've just beaten Sheffield. 4-0, we're back. But no, today I think it was a better performance from Dele Alli. I think there were signs where he was doing very well off the ball as well. I think that's something that goes a bit underappreciated. He does a lot of running for the team. I think against Sheffield, I think he ran the third most, and today he did a lot of covering of ground. So hopefully he's a guy that will continue to keep improving. Under Jose Mourinho, it was such a bad fit for him because he's a guy that kind of that needs to play with freedom. And under Jose Mourinho, he just wasn't allowed that. You see Dele Alli when he's at his best, when he's allowed to kind of do, to play with that freedom, to do the flicks and the kind of the stuff with doing things without thinking about it. That's so important for Dele Alli's game. And under Mourinho, he just wasn't allowed to do that. So hopefully under a manager like Ryan Mason, who's kind of come in and we've seen is trying to play more attacking football, I hope Dele Alli might kind of fit in. But it's a step in the right direction. But we're going to have to, hopefully we can see more of it. But as I said, I'm not going to get too carried away. It's a nice assist today. So hopefully it can continue.
Jamie, I know you were a big Gareth Bale fan, and of course he got that wonderful hat-trick against Sheffield United last week. But what do you make of the likes of Gareth? I know it's not Gareth Bale's fault that we lost today, but what do you make of his performances in games like this? Because, like I said earlier, when we really need players to step up in these very, very important games, where are these big name players like Gareth Bale stepping up in these matches?
Yeah, I mean, in fairness to Gareth Bale, I mean, today he wasn't the only one. I think we saw that from Heung-min Son, maybe a disappointing performance from him, and he has been for a while. Harry Kane, again, you could say he wasn't quite at the races today. So clearly there's just a deeper issue than just maybe individuals. I think there's, as a collective, there's a real issue there because, as I said, Bale's not the only one that's underperforming at the moment. So difficult to kind of put my finger on exactly why Gareth Bale didn't show up today. But yeah, again, it's, again, it comes down to that leadership, and there just is kind of no one that's really encouraging players and really kind of taking control of that game, and that for me was really disappointing. But I'm not gonna kind of put the blame towards Gareth, play like just individual like Gareth Bale, because I think everyone was kind of off it today. So disappointing, but as I said, I'm not going to point my finger just at Bale.
Do you know what, Jamie? If I had £1 every time you said disappointing on this channel, I think I'd be a millionaire. That is how I sum this season up. Disappointing, because it is just again and again and again. It's like every other week, up and down, up and down. I know Lee McQueen says, it's about the crazy train. Absolutely, because it is so up and down. Bobby, it's not fair on us fans, is it? This up and down,
No.
all the time.
You know what? The worst thing about it. Are you getting a really bad?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know something. I'm hearing a lot of. Oh, there you go. That's better. Can you hear me all right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, I mean, the worst thing about it, Chris, is it's just not a surprise. As much as we hope we were going to win today, the fact we've lost isn't going to come to many Spurs fans as a surprise. You know, it is. Oh, there we go again, another Spursy performance. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, but I think Bale, for me, if you're world class, if you're on nearly £250,000 per week, if your players around you aren't performing, you got to show you're world class. You got to show what you're made of, and you got to turn it on. You got to lead by example. He went missing today, and hence for me, he shouldn't be here next season. There's no, I'm not unless we get him down to half the wages as on. There's no way I want the club to be spending what they're spending at the moment on his salary. Yeah, it works out about 16 million for the season, but for me, he just doesn't do it. And Ali, with all due respect, Jamie, you know, against Sheffield United, yeah, he was okay. But when you look back, you stand back, you look at it, he was our poorest performer. And today, apart from that assist, again, for me, Lucas would have been 3 times, 4 times better player to choose today. There's no way Ali justified playing ahead of Lucas today. And Lucas ain't the answer going forward, of course, is not. But in a must-win game, and for a number 10 to play, who's been our best number 10 to play, is Lucas, and to play Ali ahead of him was scandalous for me. And like I say, I don't think he had a good performance at all. If anything, it's probably, in my opinion, one of our poorest performance. That assist kind of papered over his very poor performance. But then again, everyone crap today, weren't they, Chris? So.
Well, most of them. I think one player, I think the only positive I could take out of today's game is Hugo Lloris's performance. You know, a number of great saves.
Again,
Without him, you know, the score could have been 7 or 8. You know, you made some fantastic world-class saves. Jamie, I know, you know, it's been spoken about a lot whether Hugo Lloris will be at the club next season. Do you want to see Tottenham get another season out of Hugo Lloris, particularly when he's in this form?
Look, I think there's other areas that are perhaps more important that we go and strengthen. Lloris, you know, he has stood up on a number of occasions. Today was another game where he really stood up and was really the only performer I think that can come off the pitch and really hang his head high, that can be proud of his performance. I think he had a good game today. As I said, I think there are other issues in this team that are more pressing that we need to go and address. If we were to go and get rid of Lloris, you know, we'd need to bring in a replacement, and we'd need to, and you'd want an adequate replacement. You'd want a guy who can come in and maybe be the keeper for the next couple of years, a real top keeper, and that's going to cost you £30 million, and that's going to be £30 million that's going to be taken away from signing a top central defender or in other areas that we need. So I think Lloris is a guy that I'd probably stick with until maybe the end of his contract, which I think is in next summer. So for me, Lloris isn't the guy I'd be looking to move on. I think we should stick by Lloris for another year, unless the club really feel as though they want to get the money for him. As I said, he's, you know, if we're not going to get anything for him next summer, and they feel as though they want to go and address the keeper situation in the summer. But for me, I think I'd probably be looking to keep him because I think there are much bigger issues in this team than goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Jamie, let's talk about the Harry Kane disallowed goal in the 31st minute. Heung-min Son to Dele Alli, plays it into Harry Kane. Great finish, then disallowed. VAR strikes again. The correct decision or not?
For me, no, because you can clearly see. I mean, every picture, it's level, and then it comes down to kind of the VAR kind of guessing where to put the line. I just cannot believe that when you're measuring differences that are that fine, you have to be absolutely accurate. You have to be so definite about it, and they're not able to be that definite about it, and that's why it's just unbelievable. There needs to be some sort of leeway for the attacker or maybe the defender, whatever they decide. But the offside rule, it's just shocking. And today, I think one thing that has struck me a number of times, I can't remember which game. I think it was Sheffield United away last season where Harry Kane scored, and then I think we took the lead. And then it went against us and we just completely crumbled. And it just seemed like today we had a decision go against us and we just completely crumble. And that comes down to obviously a mentality issue again in this squad. So that's something that's really alarming. For me, I think it was a very harsh decision. Probably could have gone either way. I think it's got to be, you've got to say that Harry Kane was level and it should have stood. But the way we crumbled after that was just really unacceptable.
I hate moaning about VAR, but Bobby, let's come to you. When VAR was introduced, it said that it was going to always favour the attacking players. And when you're literally, looking at that a shoelace is offside, it is crazy now, isn't it? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, like exactly what I was going to say. We were told that we were all going to favour the attacker, and why not? We all want to see, but VAR's just weird for me anyway, Chris. You can change rules and regulations halfway through the season. I mean that earlier on when Dyer handballed against Newcastle, back then it was a penalty, and if it happened today, it wouldn't be. And I don't understand how they can get away with that. Do we get our 2 points back? It's just a weird one. VAR. It's needed. It needs refining. But things like today just infuriate. But people aren't moaning anymore. People aren't stressing about it anymore, because it is exactly what it is. A broken. Something that really needs refining and a bit more understanding and clarity of what they're trying to do. Because like you, Chris, I thought if it's slightly here or there, it's going to go with Harry Kane. And
I think it's the rule. I think it's the actual rules that need to change as well. I think VAR's. I think it's fine. I think we saw it was a great use in the Manchester City game where they gave the penalty against Manchester City, and then they clearly went back and reviewed it and saw it was a handball. But there's a lot that needs to be kind of clarified. Maybe the changing of the rules, as we've said, it's giving the attacker leeway. It's absolutely ridiculous that maybe when an attacker's sticking his arm out and they're kind of drawing the line on his arm. He's not going to score. He can't score with his arm. For you, that's against the rules to score with the arm. So it's stuff like that needs to be changed. They need to go and reassess the rules, because today seeing a goal like that disallowed is, as much as I'm annoyed we crumbled after it. It's a goal that should have stood, and I think as Leeds fans, if it had gone against us, I'd have said, that's fair enough. That's a goal. So, something needs to be readjusted with the rules. That was poor.
100%.
Well, let's come to you, Brad. Brad Matthews writes here: VAR would work if you get rid of the line and give the benefit of doubt to the forward. Harry Kane was level in old football language, and the goal would have stood. It just seems now that managers don't celebrate when goals go in. Players don't even celebrate now when goals go in, because they know that it's going to go to VAR. It's just, I know we've said on this channel a lot of times, and a lot of football fans talk about VAR, but when it's so close, it's just ruining the game, isn't it?
It is. Well, literally, he was like a Rizzler paper off, wasn't he? Next to nothing. You're talking like that much, And I always hate it from the lines you see it from anyway, because you don't see the other side of the pitch. You only see it from one angle. They're not actually deviating it from the other sides, so you don't get a true perspective of it. And it's just ruined the game completely. Us fans, I didn't get excited when it went through straight, because I thought, like, here we go again. It's not going to be awarded, and you don't get excited until you see the goal come up on the Titantron D. It's just ridiculous, Chris. It really is. I can understand it's there to be helping referees, but they should only need it if they feel they didn't see a decision, or they, that, oh, by the way, you recheck that. But they're like being refed by refs, They haven't got any common sense on the pitch. My dad, bless him, he passed away, but he was a Class 1 ref, never made it to the Premier League standard. But he always said that referees should be people that played the game, because they know, how the inside out, how to play, etc. Just a bit more common sense in the game's needed. But
I think did the linesman flag it? I'm sure the linesman did flag it, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
I can guarantee you, if the linesman had not have put his flag up, I think they would have given it. I think that would have been a goal. I think VAR purely went with that decision because the on-field linesman decided to give it as an offside, and that for me is the biggest joke. I honestly think it was a given.
And they're told not to raise their flags if they're not 100%. So obviously the linesman must have thought, it's definitely 100% offside. I'll raise my flag, and like you say, Jamie, VAR probably thought, okay, let's give him the benefit of the doubt rather than the attacker, which is wrong in so many counts.
Bobby, let's come back to you. In the 42nd minute, just before half-time, Bamford put Leeds United 2-1 up. A very well worked goal by them, and I must say, I'll give Leeds United a lot of credit. They looked absolutely superb today, and they created so many chances, from wide areas as well. But when that goal went in, our defence just looked all over the place. And Sergio Reguilon, who I've been a big fan of, what's happened to him?
I'm not sure. I mean, I've got a funny feeling he's going to go at the end of the season, because it is down to, if Real Madrid want him back and he wants to go back, then I think that's a done deal, isn't it? We've got no option but to let him go. Obviously, they need to buy him back. But I don't know, ever since Davis has been injured and technically had no competition, he's just been off. He was our best attacker down the left. And in his and son's relationship down the left was always held us in good stead. It's nowhere to be seen. We always knew Reguilon wasn't the best of defenders, but he'd always get himself out of trouble by tracking back and his pace. But none of that's there now, Chris, and he just looks short of confidence, just completely short of confidence. And can we kind of see why Real Madrid actually quite happily loaning him out season to season? So he just doesn't look. But and he's picking up of that last ball. I mean, the equaliser, he was at fault, went with his right foot when he could have quite easily gone with his left. Well, it's easy for us to say. And then losing his man over and over again. It wasn't just them. A few chances in the first half, second half as well. His awareness just doesn't seem to be there, mate.
Jamie, let's come to you. In that first half in particular, it seemed that Leeds United really did target Serge Aurier, and it's not the first time this season that a team has targeted that side to go down a number of times.
Yeah, I think unfortunately Serge Aurier is a guy. He's had a couple of good performances this season, but unfortunately he is an area of weakness in that defence. And again, I don't want to point my finger just at him, because there are Eric Dyer, Sergio Reguilon, as we said. There's a lot of areas of worry in that defence, but Sergio Aurier, he made another needless foul today. It was another poor performance from him, unfortunately. And he's a guy I probably would look to move on in the summer. But yeah, very, very disappointed from him. Just on Reguilon, I do agree. I think it is confidence massively with him. I think if you look how good he is, he's so good going forward, but he's just completely lost that. He just doesn't look like he's got that confidence. And I don't think it helps when you're maybe you're not so good defensively, and you're trying, and your backup when you've maybe lost your man is Eric Dyer, who's behind you. So I think that's been a big issue for him. I think he's just completely lost that confidence in his teammates, in himself. And I honestly, I think we're safe from Real Madrid coming and getting back. Obviously, they're in a very poor financial situation anyway. So I don't think they'll go and invest £40 million to bring him back. I think they were happy enough to take the £25 million for him. I still really believe he'll become a good player, and he will get the confidence back. And maybe we'll look back and think, £40 million, maybe that is a fair price for him. But I think that's a clause, I think that will expire, and that will pass them by. But I think we'll be safe with Sergio Reguilon, and hopefully, he'll regain that confidence eventually. But yeah, he's been disappointing recently.
Paul, let's come to you. In the 49th minute, Harry Kane scored, but again, it was disallowed. But this time he was miles offside, so VAR, no problems there. Heung-min Son had a shot wide in the 56th minute. Just before that, Harry Kane had another shot wide, dragged it wide just outside the box. 63rd minute, silky football from Leeds United. Hugo Lloris made another wonderful save. And then Serge Aurier, of all players, in the 71st minute, nearly equalised for Spurs. But a good goal, good save by the goalkeeper.
Yeah, exactly. Tit and tat for the game, wasn't it? We had a few shots. Normally, I think Kane would have crashed that into the bottom corner, but he's just trying too hard just to try and get that goal, just to build his confidence up a little bit and try and help the team a bit more than he needs to. I was thinking with Kane, though, if you've got Dele on, don't let Kane start dropping back. Keep him up front, He's got pace in Son and Bale to try and whip in the crosses. And then if you're not going to use, not in the body, you've got obviously Lo Celso that was trying to be like a holding midfielder, but he's better further forward as well. So it was just the whole structure a little bit out for me today, Chris, unfortunately. But again, it's just people they're trying too hard to get a goal for us, where it's not working as a unit for the whole team, working together kind of thing, overlapping, playing for each other's positions, i.e. the left-hand side with the left-back, left winger. Same with Aurier and Bale. And then when Lucas came on, I saw Lucas make 2 runs with the ball and then fouled. You know, it's just one of those things. People just over trying it quite a lot and trying to make something happen instead of it all working collectively.
I think that's the thing. The attacking structure just is non-existent, and unfortunately, it is. I think that does stem from Jose Mourinho. I don't think that there was a lot of times where we never really knew what we were going to do when we were going forwards. And that's it. I think, you know, we never looked like we were going to score today. And there's a reason for that, because I genuinely don't think we knew how we were going to score as a team. I don't think the players knew what they were going to do.
No structure.
You know, there's been no structure for a very long time.
How can you not know how you're going to score goals when you've got Heung-min Son, Gareth Bale, and Harry Kane in the team?
I think you can have all the quality in the world, but you've got to have a plan. I think that's the most important thing, even if you do have that quality. And maybe that's why Gareth Bale was looking such a shadow of himself. Harry Kane looks a shadow of himself. Heung-min Son looks a shadow of himself. Giovanni Lo Celso just is walking. That I think that kind of explains why there is no plan. And that's desperately what we need back. We said we lost our identity.
Yeah.
This is why we look so poor and we don't look like we're ever going to score. I went into the last 15 minutes and I'm like, do you know what? What's the point of even continuing watching? Because we just do not look like a team that knows what we're doing when we're going forward. We just look totally clueless, unfortunately. And I don't blame Ryan Mason for that. He is a guy who's only had a couple of weeks to work with them. He's not going to come in, at 29 years old and suddenly bring, fantastic attacking quality. Obviously, the intent's there, which is brilliant. We want to see that, but we just don't look like a team that knows what we're doing, and that is a real concern.
Jamie, the defence quite often gets criticised, particularly when we concede poor goals like we did today. But is the Tottenham midfield, are they good enough? Because are the forward players like Harry Kane getting the service that they need?
I think there may be, yeah. Again, I do. Again, it comes down to the kind of that structure. What do we do once we've won the ball back? They just don't really look like they know what they're doing, and maybe there is a question of the quality of the service. But for me, I feel as though that this team should be good enough. I feel as though there are some top individuals in this side. Lo Celso and Ndombele, I'm convinced they are very good players. Yes, maybe they've not shown it nearly enough for Spurs, but I think if you look at kind of the situation that they've always been in under Mauricio Pochettino, as I said, it needed changing. Unfortunately, under Jose Mourinho, there was very rarely an attacking structure. So I think they need, the next manager needs to get the best out of these players, needs to come and bring in an attacking structure. Again, I think there was a really good report in The Athletic when Mourinho was under pressure, and they were talking about how there was still kind of the players were relying on Mauricio Pochettino's attacking structure to go forward.
Yeah.
And that just says it all, really. They don't know what they're doing. That's why we're kind of questioning what's Harry Kane doing? Why is Gareth Bale not showing up? Why is Reguilon not looking quite as good as he used to be? It's because there's no structure in place. It comes down to the midfield and the attack, the forwards as well. That's why they just all look a shadow of themselves. And that's something we desperately need from the new manager.
There's confidence as well, isn't it? Because Leeds were playing one-touch football past us a few times, and that's just through well-trained management. And you can see the difference between us having Mourinho and then Mason to Leeds being well-organised with a manager that's been in, and they've got that consistency and trust. It's just, hopefully that's us next season again, but we've got to get the right people in first before that can happen.
That's it. No pattern of play. Sorry, mate, go on.
Well, I just think, one thing I was saying to my dad in the car he said to me when we were kind of, we were coming back, we were saying, look, this team should have more than enough quality to go and beat this Leeds side. And that's kind of where it is. You've got a team that's brilliant attacking structure. They know exactly what they're doing. They're well drilled. They're organised. But they're playing against a team that maybe are better of individuals, but a team that doesn't know what they're doing. That just is kind of a bit clueless. And unfortunately, that kind of summed up the game today. Sheffield United, they were such low quality that the individual play was just there enough to beat them. Against Leeds United, a team that's so well drilled and played fantastically good football this season as a team. That's why they won today. And that for me was the difference between the two games. So yeah, they're very, very disappointing.
Yeah,
Paul, that's the worst part about it, because when I was watching the game, I was saying to myself that if you didn't know anything about Leeds or Spurs, and someone said to you one of these teams is going for that top four spot, and one of these teams is a mid-table team, you'd have said that Leeds were going for that top four spot, wouldn't you? Because of the way that they played.
Definitely, you think with a Championship club just being promoted, that was a difference in the quality, and that is again down to the fact that he's a very consistent manager and they've got a structure. They know how they want to play. They've got the right people in that abide into what he wants to, implement in the squads. And you can see that we've been, unfortunately, just over the season with Mourinho, the swapping and changing that they did to try and get the best 11. It's just obvious for all to see that in the summer, there needs to be a certain amount of players in the 11 starting and then keep it consistent, get the form with each other, the partnerships going again. Like we said earlier on, I was glad to see that the same 11 were playing because it builds up the consistency of working together. But then it's down to individual quality and actually just working for like a team, in a team effort. You're all part of the same culture. You'll want to do well for Spurs, and that's what was needed. And that was lacking. It was just the leaderships again, like we said previously on the the chat. But hopefully in the summer we can address it and move on and put this bad few dark performances and season behind us and kick on again.
That's what really worries me as well. And sorry to sound so depressing about it, because we all say, wait until the summer. But this rebuild, this so-called rebuild, is absolutely huge. How many players, honestly, us Tottenham fans expecting to come in the door, and how many players are we expecting to go out the door? I can't see that there's going to be a dramatic change to really change the whole club. Jamie, I know you...
Yeah, I mean, how many times have we said this? That it feels as though we've said this for a number of summers now. Where okay, wait till the summer now, and maybe we'll go and rebuild. But again, we go and we go and maybe find alternatives. And that for me, the recruitment has been pretty shocking, to be honest. I mean, under Jose, I think on the last one, Spurs, John Wenner made a fantastic point about, maybe money has been spent, but it's just kind of been spent in the wrong way. Again, we wanted to go and sign a Milan Skriniar. That was who Jose Mourinho wanted. We didn't. As I said, we went and signed a Joe Rodon. Again, I hate throwing Joe Rodon on the bus because I do like him, but unfortunately, he was not that absolute top quality central defender we need, and that's kind of where our issue has been with, Daniel Levy. He's a guy who he tries to save money and then he ends up wasting it because he goes for a cheaper alternative. The manager ends up doesn't like him, and then we've got a player who's stuck around for a long time, and that's something that desperately needs to change. You need to go and get either we need to change the structure in terms of bringing maybe in a director of football who's able to bring in the right players for the manager. Or you just go and back the manager in terms of who he wants, because at the moment we're wasting so much money on alternatives that just aren't good enough for us, and that's been our biggest concern. Biggest
Vinicius wasn't even in the squad today, was he? I didn't see the subs. So was Vinicius in the squad today?
I didn't. I've even played for Spurs, and exactly. Again, that's, shocking recruitment, and that just sums it up, unfortunately.
Bobby, let's come back to you. David writes a very interesting and good comment here. 15 minutes to go, 2-1 down, and we were walking. No press, no movement. Structure is a part to play, but these are professional players that cannot be bothered. Now, it kind of sums up, what we've said already about, the players. How are they walking in such an important game when, it's Champions League football, Europa League football at stake for next year? How are these players walking in these games? I don't get it.
I don't get it. We would do anything to wear that badge. I mean, for me, Aurier, as good as he is, but the fact that someone can wear the Tottenham badge and walk out at half time from Anfield halfway through a game, he's probably wearing that badge while he was driving home, Chris. And for me, that never sat right with me since that day. It's the whole can't be bothered thing. If you ain't got pride for the badge, have professional pride. You might not enjoy playing there, but you put yourself in the shop window. Get yourself out there. Let people look at you and think, oh, right, there's a good player there. Let's. But there's nothing there. But there's no like David says. There's no structure. There wasn't any form of pattern. I've not saw. Didn't see one pattern of play. No triangles. No 1-2. There was nothing. No movement there whatsoever. And we'll blame the manager. But for me, it's even pre-ESL. I said it was a massive summer for the board. It's the biggest summer ever for any. I mean, I was there. I remember going to the Alan Sugar protest with Dad. And and Chris, you probably remember them days. It was and Paul, Jamie probably not, probably before your time, mate. But it was bad. But Alan Sugar did do a few things good for us. 91. If it wasn't for that FA Cup, there wouldn't be a Tottenham Hotspur. And he did get us, save us from the deduction points and fines and etc. But it's a massive summer, and we'll be processing for exactly, spot on, Craig. Yeah.
The worry about that is I just think that Spurs fans are too loyal, and I do think that we'll see 10,000 tickets sold. For me, I'm not going just because it will cost me about £100 for a whole complete day out. And then of course I think if you've got to get COVID tested as well, I'm sure that must be the case.
Probably.
So and then of course what's the play for now? I mean, I really want to go and see Spurs versus Aston Villa, and the winner gets a place in the Europa League conference. For me, that's not worth £100, unfortunately. I really want to support my team, and even in that situation, I'd love to go and support them, but unfortunately, I just can't justify paying £100 for it. Unfortunately, I do think there will be supporters, and I think that's absolutely brilliant. I think if you are going, that's because you're supporting your team. But unfortunately, I think Spurs fans are too loyal, and we will see a sellout. And I don't. Again, I don't. It sounds like I'm blaming the supporters that are going. I think that's brilliant that they're going, and they're going to support the team, but. Unfortunately, I do think we'll see a sellout for that game. I think.
Can I just ask all three of you? Do you think that Spurs will perhaps overturn the decision of charging £60 for the ticket?
He's done it before, hasn't he? He's backtracked before, hasn't he?
I'd like to say
I just think, I just think there's so much animosity there, and so much pressure from the fan. I wouldn't be surprised. The whole furlough thing when he decided to furlough staff in the midst of a pandemic, and he backtracks on that. I wouldn't be surprised. But the fact is, it's all very well backtracking, Chris. Is the fact he's come out with it. They've come out to it. They've actually sat there in a boardroom or on Zoom, whatever, and thought, right, let's charge them as much as we can. Let's not worry about what their feelings are right now. And that's it's toxic. The feeling towards a board is toxic, and the players aren't helping. Not to say that the players winning would probably take my eye off the ball. I know the biggest thing right now is to protest and just to make ENIC aware of our grievances. And like I say, you can't have too many protests to do that. But they've got to be civilised. They've got to be non-violent. And like I say, go to the protest because you feel like you want to, rather than feel like you have to. It's not a day out. It's not a picnic. It's not to go and see the stadium. It's not a sightseeing a day. It's there to make your feelings evident, loud and proud towards ENIC and Levy.
I just worry because I don't think we've had an apology from the club for entering us into the Super League, and that for me kind of shows. I'm not sure they really care about what the supporters think, and I think brilliant that there's going to be protests, and if that's what you believe in, to go and do that, then I think that's great. You want to support your team, you want to see the best for your club, so that that's if that's what's needed. But I don't think they'll listen to kind of that opinion, and unfortunately, and they don't really seem to have any remorse for entering into this Super League that none of the supporters wanted to go into. So I don't know. I just don't feel as though, I'm not sure it's something they're looking to.
I suppose Glazer's coming out today and said they're going to accelerate their change, the structure within the board. That could give us a bit of a bit of light at the tunnel. The fact is the problem is we've not had a tunnel to see the light at the end of it. So all we can do, Jamie, is hope, can't we, mate? And do our bit, and then hope for the best.
I think ENIC are hoping that we don't have any fans there, because I think the abuse they're going to get inside the stadium as well as out will probably be highlighted. And this would have been highlighted if we had fans in, I think, 4 or 5 months ago. I think Jones they got away with it, and the players did and the board, because there were no fans in the actual stadium at all to shout and give a booing every now and then, etc. So they might see it an easy option to have no fans inside, because there'll be less abuse thrown towards them. So,
of course, mate. Yeah.
Jamie, let's come back to you. I totally agree. I'm very disappointed as a Spurs fan that the club didn't actually come out and use the word sorry, and we apologise for what we've done. I'm very disappointed with that. Let's talk about the Aston Villa game. I know we've got to talk about the last 10 minutes of today's game, but the Aston Villa game where we've got 10,000 fans going in, and of course the Leicester game at the end of the season, we've got Leicester fans will have their fans in at their ground. Do you think that will help the team in any way? Because do you think it's really hindered Tottenham as a club, as a team, not having the fans in there? Because only a couple of weeks ago when I was at the League Cup final, it was such an interesting moment. Hugo Lloris had the ball and we were 1-0 down and he was taking so long to distribute the ball. And the fans then shouted and said, "Come on." And you could almost see Hugo Lloris sort of jump as if to say, "Oh yeah, the fans are back." You know, we've been told. So there was real urgency from the fans. Yeah. The players were being quite slow. So do you think it's going to have the impact?
Maybe not, because I still think there are real issues in this team in terms of, we saw in the last, as the comment said, we saw in the last 15 minutes, players were kind of walking, and that for me comes down to structure, and they kind of gave up and they stopped believing. And maybe that is a natural human instinct. As much as supporters, we'd say we do that, but when you just cannot see a way of scoring and understanding what we're doing, then there are real issues in this team. So maybe it might not have an impact, but I have to say, the supporters at Wembley, for the Spurs supporters, were absolutely fantastic.
Amazing.
I mean, when they were coming forward, you could really hear them when I was watching on TV. They were fantastic. I totally agree with that comment. When they were coming forward, they really were cheering the team on. So I think Spurs supporters, as I said, they're really, really loyal, and I think we serve so much better. Spurs supporters, they've been fantastic in that cup final. Nothing to believe in. There was nothing at all to believe in. Never did we really go forward. But when we did go forward, they were fantastic. They're roaring us forward, the supporters. So I think the club are very, very lucky to have supporters that are so loyal, that are so passionate about the club. So hopefully, you'd like to think that there will be some sort of impact. But as I said, I think there are deep issues with this team.
I think there will be. I think there's every chance it might go the opposite way, Chris, because the final was the final. Obviously, we need to support our team, but the fact is we're going to be back against a Villa game, which won't mean anything. So we're not really bothered about the game, and it's a common. It's a common.
It might mean that we're going to get European football for next season. Or not.
Yeah, but I do think that there's every chance that Spurs supporters have got so much pent up frustration inside them, seeing the way the boys have been playing, and see that the lack of motivation and the disappointments and the constant disappointments. I think there's every chance that there will be a lot of frustration within the stadium, and don't be surprised, of course, if it's going to be the odd protest within the stadium as well, and it might actually have the opposite effect on some players as well, because I don't see it like being like West Ham toxic, or certainly Arsenal toxic, but there will be some disgruntled fans out there, and of course if we start losing and we're not playing well, there's every chance it's gonna the whole toxicity within the fan base going to rear its head, and it might have the opposite effect. I believe there's going to be massive protests within the stadium against Villa. I know it's all random, but I think the ENIC out or the ENIC change, whatever way you look at it, I think it's a majority of the people have got an issue against the board, and I think that just might take over, unfortunately. Me personally, regardless of my protests, if I had the chance to go in the stadium, of course I'd cheer on the boys. But that probably in the last 10, 15 minutes, if we weren't playing properly, then all the frustrations would come out. Certainly the whole season and a half worth of frustrations will come out, and don't be surprised if it's not all happy-go-lucky.
Paul, let's come to you. Just to wrap things up from the today's game point of view, 3-1. Leeds made it 3-1 in the 84th minute. Dyer kept Rafinha on side for Rodrigo to slot home. Talk us through that goal. Talk us through that bit of disappointment, because, of course, I don't know what else to add about today's game. Just thoroughly disappointing, isn't it?
It was, Chris. And again, they highlighted our weakness on the right. Aurier was nowhere near, in his position where he should have been. They just played a simple ball through. Thank you very much. Squared it in, and basically like all game unmarked as such, and just passed it past Hugo, which, just sums up the whole performance, really, wouldn't it? And just, I wish I could say more, really. I really do. I've always been a proud Spurs fan, and I always will back my club, but I've had enough now. I want us to see passion on the pitch. I want to see the players caring. I just want to see the board caring about us. Like you said, not even an apology. We've let the club down. We've let you down by doing what they did with the Super League. I don't care. It's good that they built a new stadium for us. Great, and the facilities. It now matters on the pitch because that's where they've neglected us, and it's all to see.
Do you know what's really hard for me? And I know, Jamie, you're very similar to me in this regard, in that, you know, we try and be as positive as we possibly can be about our club. But there are moments like this where you're just really clutching and you're thinking, what are you know, what positives are there at the moment, Jamie?
Yeah, for me, I thought the squad was maybe a positive. Of course, no doubt there are lots of issues in that squad that we need to go and address. But I think if you look at the individual quality of a lot of the players, you feel as though we should be performing a lot better. You know, Tongi and Ndombele, Lo Celso, Harry Kane, Heung-min Son, Gareth Bale. I mean, there's a lot of individual quality in that team, but if you see kind of the way that there's, you know, as again, it just comes back, there's no attacking structure, no plan. You know, maybe that's the only positive that I can kind of cling on to. It. You know, there is individual quality. If you can bring in the right manager, someone like Mauricio Pochettino, but I think we got very, very lucky with Mauricio Pochettino. I think that he was just the perfect man for Spurs. He got the best out of what he had. He had a definite way of playing football. I mean, I just remember the start under Mauricio Pochettino. It was kind of, he came in and maybe the results weren't great, but you could really see what we were building. And, you know, that's what the next manager needs. You know, under Jose Mourinho, there was no building at all. There was never any kind of structure to our play, no identity. And that's desperately what we need. If we can kind of bring an identity back to the team and get these individual players playing as a team, then maybe there's a way forward. I know lots of people would disagree with that. I've obviously had, you know, lots of kind of arguments, maybe the quality of the squad, but I do believe in the quality of the squad. It's going to take the right manager. But I look at I think we've had this conversation, Chris. You look at the list of candidates and you worry, who's that manager that's going to bring that? I don't know who's going to come in and bring that, unfortunately.
Just shows how far we've come down in such a short period of time, though, doesn't it? Because you could have had, you know, the next top upper manager, but they've gone elsewhere. I thought, nah, you know, off we go. It's just going to be the fact they're not going to get back by the board as such. You know, they're going to be having targets and they're not going to get them and get someone else in that they maybe didn't want. But
I think one of the positives as well, though. Yeah. Sorry, Bob. I was just going to say, I think one of the positives as well, the other positive as well, is, we've got the quality, but we've got quality coming through as well, Chris. You look at every position. You know, you want to talk about people trying their all. We've got some good youngsters coming through in every position. You know, in goal, we've got the likes of Whiteman coming through. Full back areas, we've got Lavinia and of course Sirkin. Central defence for me, Tanganga and Roden, two young defenders. Midfielders, Skippy. We've got Harvey White. We've got Devine. Sessegnon, of course. And then up front, we've got Scarlett. So every position in that first team, we have got some good quality youngsters coming through. So the future is certainly bright, and maybe they've got a bit more motivation than the first team have at the moment.
Well, Tottenham remain 6th in the Premier League after today's defeat. We've now played 35, won 16, drawn 8 and lost 11, got a goal difference of plus 20. We have 56 points. We're now 5 points adrift of the top 4, 4th place Chelsea, who have played a game less. West Ham are just above us as well. They have played a game less. They've got 2 points more than us. And Liverpool and Everton, just behind us, have played 2 games less. So Liverpool and Everton, in both of their games in hand, Tottenham could be down to 8th. Now, as we all know, top 4 will get Champions League. It looks like that 5th and 6th will get Europa League. And it looks like that the Europa Conference League, a brand new European competition, will get 7th place. So Tottenham do need to finish in the top 7. Now, we've got 3 Premier League games left. Wolves at home next Sunday, then Aston Villa at home, and then Leicester City away. 9 points to play for. Last question for you all. Jamie, Paul and Bob Spur. Just want to know, where do you think Tottenham will finish at the end of the season? And, you know, how we're going to turn this into, you know, some positive end of the season? Jamie?
That's tough. I'm going to say I think we'll secure that that conference spot, the Europa League conference spot. We'll get 7th place. I think as you said, you know,
Chris loves that.
You see how Liverpool have got 2 games in hand over us, just behind us. I think we've left ourselves too much to do, unfortunately. you know, even Europa League, I mean, look, it was so disappointing the way we went out of it. I thought we had a fantastic chance of winning that this season. I was really up for giving it everything in that competition. So I'd really love to be in that competition, actually. I mean, I know obviously we're a club that wants to be playing in the Champions League, but we also want to be winning trophies. And I think that you've got to, you know, there is a good opportunity in that Europa League to win it. So I really would love to be in that next season. But I look at the league table and I think we've left ourselves too much to do. So I think I'm going to say that Spurs win up 7th.
Jamie, if I was to ask you to dissect the results, Wolves at home, Villa at home, and Leicester City away, how many points do you think the Spurs will get from them 3 games? And where?
I mean, it's difficult because you look at the games that we have played under Ryan Mason so far. You know, we played Sheffield United and we played Southampton. I think those are 2 very low quality teams. And as I said, I think we beat them purely because we were just too good for them and they were just poor. Today we played a side that, what are they, ninth, you know, but they're so well drilled. You know, they know what they're doing, and that's why they beat us. I said, you know, the quality, we said on paper, Spurs should be winning this, but unfortunately, you know, we know how it's played on the pitch. And Leeds were a side well drilled, well organised. As soon as we came up against the quality side, we've lost. Yep. So I think that, you know, you look at Wolves, Villa, and Leicester. They're 3 sides that are very well coached. So I think it's very difficult to see. I think we should beat Wolves. I think they're a side that have struggled. So I can see us getting 3 points there. Against Aston Villa, maybe at home, we might be better suited to that. So I do think we'll get 3 points there. But against Leicester, that will be a tricky game. That will obviously be a very tricky game. But maybe they might have Europe secured by then. But obviously they had a poor result yesterday. So maybe they'll be having to go all out for that. So I'm gonna say 6 points again. I think I'm gonna say 6 points from 9. I think that's what I'm gonna say.
Okay, Paul, what do you reckon?
The positive I can hopefully take from it is that everyone can be anyone on the day. So even though the Liverpool clubs have got 2 games in hand, you're hoping that they can drop a few points. Hopefully 6th we can get to. So I don't want to go in the conference, you know, get to the main Europa League. Not that we have a great record on there, you know. It would be all right if we win it each year and you can say, oh, well, we've got a guaranteed trophy again. But, you know, we've never got to a final in it since we've been in it, have we? So, you know, hoping again that it's our year when we get there. But I can see us beating Wolves. They're my dad's team. So I reckon 3-1 Wolves. Villa be tricky, you know. If they got Jack Grealish, it would be really hard because he's their main, you know, player for them. I think maybe a 2-1 either way, and then Leicester. Well, I wouldn't like to say really. That could be a lucky score, or you know, we actually turn up and start playing well. But I think 6, and like Jamie said, I think 6 points from the last 9 available.
Bob, come on, give me some realistic stats.
I think it's too late to call this season, regardless of where we finish, a good season and what a positive end to a season. And of course I want Spurs to win every single game, Chris. But and it's hard for me to say this, but I'm not bothered, mate. I'm honestly not bothered. I'm not bothered if we win, lose, or draw in that last 3 games. And for a guy who's supported Tottenham for nearly 40 years, it's effing hard for me to say that. And it's reflective of where we are right now, mate. For me, it's all about change. I hope the only positive thing that can come out of this season is for the board to acknowledge that there has been some wrongdoings. They haven't performed the way they should have, and let's sit down. Let's change things. That's the only positive. Because I'll be honest with you, mate, and you know, Chris, how passionate I am about Spurs. I couldn't give a toss how we perform next 3 games, and that's hard. That's hard for me to say that.
Do you know what, Bob? I wish I didn't care, but I know that this result, this performance, and today will ruin my weekend, as it does a lot of Tottenham fans. You know, our results, the way we play, it ruins some people's weekends, and it will certainly ruin mine. And you know, these next 3 games, I just think are highly important because whoever you bring in as a manager in the summer, you know, we need European football. I know Jamie's saying that we might scrape into this Europa Conference League. We don't want to be in that competition. You know, we've got this fantastic new stadium. You know, we've got the likes of Harry Kane, who we want to keep at the club, Min Son, etc. That's why I just think there's so many problems. If you don't get European football, are we going to keep these? Are we going to keep these players? You know, the rebuild in the summer, is the board going to give money for you know, a rebuild to the new manager? There are just so many things that I'm worried about as a Spurs fan right now, and it's really getting me down, you know, supporting this club right now, because you try and support them, you try and be really positive, and then results and performances like today, and like we've said on the video already, that, you know, players are walking and the players aren't giving 100%. And I felt like they were even doing that a few weeks leading up to the cup final. And why wouldn't you want to put yourself in the frame to be in that starting 11 in the cup final? I just don't understand it right now. That's what makes me feel very, very sad. But you know, if I was to be asked the same question, I'm hoping that
what do you think?
Do scrape it into you know, I don't think that we're going to get a Champions League spot. I think that's, you know, it's gone. I think the best we can hope for is a Europa League spot, and we end the season on a positive, and hopefully get 9 points. I know people are going to be saying, don't be stupid, we're never going to get 9 points from the remaining 3 games, but we have to try, you know. But I want to see the players running. I want to see the players giving 110%.
Yeah, fighting for the badge.
Yeah,
it's frustrating.
But the thing is, why weren't they doing that today? And that's why I think, you know, I think Bob was right. Absolutely. I mean, look, obviously we want to care. We're incredibly passionate Spurs fans, but you know, when the players are kind of, you know, they already look resigned, like they just want the season over. You know, it's very difficult to kind of go into a game and really care about it, because we know we're not going to get the performance we want to see. So it's a horrible situation we find ourselves, and a massive summer, not just kind of on the pitch, but really off it as well, because there's a lot that needs to change, unfortunately.
Absolutely, 100%.
Totally agree.
Well, one positive to come out of this season is that Jamie and Bob Spur have started their own YouTube channels this season. Jamie, tell us all about yours.
Yep. So I've kind of, I mean, I haven't been so consistent at it. Unfortunately, I've had, you know, just the kind of my own life. As you know, I'm not actually in my prison cell that I was in last time. I have actually moved. Hopefully now I'm kind of more settled. Hopefully I'll be more consistent with it. But yeah, I'm Daily Hotspur on YouTube and Twitter. So yeah, hopefully I'll be kind of bringing some update videos. But yeah, we'll see. Good luck.
Wicked.
And Bob, where can people find you?
Yeah, Bob Spur TV, just doing Spurs content. I'll do the day after, day before show tomorrow, which should be interesting. A couple of rants on that, and then I do you know, football topic shows as well. Done one on ENIC, done one on Qatar 2022, the media side within football as well. So do one-off specials as well. But yeah, majority, as far as say, anything Spurs related, which hasn't been the most happiest times of late, but I do try and cheer people up.
Paul, have you started up your own YouTube channel? Anything to promote on your side?
I'm not to your standards yet, Chris, or yours, Bob, or Jamie. So not yet. Maybe one day, we'll see. The more confident I get coming on your show, Chris, maybe. But, you know, I'd want to be doing it when we can have positive things to talk about, not doom and gloom. Yeah. You might see there's a YouTube one where I'm hanging myself or throwing myself under a bus. So,
well, you're always very welcome to come on here. Let me just take this opportunity to thank everybody for their all of their comments in the chat today. There have been hundreds and thousands of comments coming in, so really appreciate your input. Jamie, thanks so much for joining me today.
No, my pleasure. Always a pleasure to come on your channel, Chris.
And Paul, thank you very much.
Again, I'll always be there for you, Chris, if you need me. Hopefully, when we run these a bit more, there's better times ahead to be smiling more and being a bit more upbeat. But last few times now, we've been coming on with defeats, haven't we? So
hopefully, I want to see. I want to be talking about a trophy next season, 100%, without any failure. Yeah. Whoever's the manager, what players we've got, whatever happens at the club next season, I want to see a trophy at the club next season. Bobby, thank you so much for joining me today.
No, mate, always an honour. You know what I think of you. Absolutely legend, mate, and a true inspiration. So, honour, always humbled and honoured, mate. Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining me, all three of you. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I know the result wasn't a pleasure, but we've got 3 Premier League games left. Let's hope that we can get 9 points. Thanks for watching, everyone, and come on, you Spurs.
Cheers. Take care. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on.